assessment of where he is. I guess also we should be cognizant of the requirements document for promotion to full professor, and we could run through the research, teaching, and service components, and maybe make a couple of paragraphs in each to give them guidance on where he's going. Yes.
If you don't mind, interject, because honestly, I haven't done this in any of my previous institutions. I just want to make sure, like, how, I know we want to give a guidance, but how binding whatever we write is. I just want to make sure we don't get ourselves in a situation that we recommend something today and then like anyone comes back later and say, oh, you said I can do this and that, and I haven't done it, so now you need to promote me, and things might change with that. Or you said that also it's for you the first time you're doing it, so do you have any knowledge from other departments how exactly it's supposed to go? I just want to make sure I
didn't really get strong guidance from anyone. You could go back to Linda and ask her again. They don't really want to share any of these, obviously, from their faculty, because they're confidential, and so I'm assuming from reading between the lines and talking to her and others is in a sense that we want to just make general statements of scope and generally say, well, for the teaching one, I was going to say that Liam obviously now has a second appointment in health sector policy, so and his teaching evaluations are always good, so it's not like we have to say, well, improve your teaching or be more diverse in your teaching or anything, or do PhD courses. I think a sort of a general statement of teaching is meeting the goals and guidelines of the requirements document, I think that's my view, and therefore continuing along the lines of innovative, creative teaching at all levels, and perhaps moving also to demonstrate in executive ed or something along those lines would be sufficient. I know I'm with you on this one. This is a tricky one because we all have to sign off on this. What's more tricky is obviously the research component. I don't know, Paula or Kevin, maybe you've experienced this in your lives as chairs or as researchers.
Not beyond the fact that when I was department chair in Warwick, we did that review every year, and that included also bringing feedback on the research, but it wasn't directly focused on the promotion. It was more like how the year has been, but I guess there were, but I guess that with problematic cases, I guess there were some guidance, but it wasn't like this very focused on. I mean, I guess this is not really focused on promotion either. It is, it is an assessment of current performance, isn't it?
I know Sarah wants to speak in a second. I mean, I have to give, obviously, as chair, feedback every year on the FAR. So, Sarah, you may have insight from the
committees. Yeah. One is, I thought this was basically getting a review. I didn't think it was a meeting for promotion, No, but I'm even talking about the promotion. I thought it was that each faculty, I think it was, I don't know which, was it through the school council, was that each faculty can request, and it's voluntary, can request a review. I wasn't aware that we all had to sign off on this letter. I thought it was just suggestions.
As department chair, that it would, but you guys have to agree on the letter. That's the school council policy.
Is it?
Like I don't go and write, oh, you need 12.
No, but I just didn't even know if we all had.
Well, last year it's sort of like a glorified FAR review from the chair.
Okay, so do we have this in writing of what's required? Maybe that would be good, Robert. Even if at a later time we can find. I don't know if it's is it a bylaw or is it a state?
bylaw.
Yeah, maybe if we can bring that up or find out what
No, I didn't
exactly
find
it
a
says.
bylaw. That's why I asked. I think I asked before related to the bylaw. I didn't find it in the bylaw.
Either did I.
You forwarded me an email, right? That was DJ's policy. It seems like. I don't think it was a bylaw, but if you have in a bylaw, I searched. I didn't find it.
Because I think that would answer our questions there. You know, of what is this review supposed to be? What you're supposed to put in writing? Because I'm a little uncomfortable here of putting my name on where there's a number of suggestions. Do I have to agree with each suggestion versus, a write-off on it? So if we could maybe find that versus giving him feedback for the year.
In the bylaw. I mean, this is a good thing, right? I think this as a constructive exercise is a good thing. Personally, I've already given Ian my own feedback for what he needs to do. Actually, very detailed feedback, obviously, but it's not a written document. I talked to him and I said these are the areas you can work on towards the full promotion. But it's not a formal; it's informal feedback. I've also never had this in prior institutions. I've always sort of tried to seek feedback. When I was assistant and associate, I try to seek feedback from all of the senior faculty myself, right, and try to work towards that. Yeah, it's a good exercise to have. I don't mind providing some written feedback, but on the other hand, it's a little weird.
And especially since, Kevin, it's voluntary, this process.
From the candidate's perspective or from the evaluator perspective.
Right. But I'm just saying.
From the candidate.
Yeah, but I'm just even thinking that it's a voluntary method. You know what I mean? It'd be different if this was mandatory. I think it would be more formal versus voluntary on it, that it's good to get feedback, but that written form, anyways, we can go ahead.
Professors get this every year. It's just that we've never had an assistant professor, and we should have done this, I guess, before Liam got tenure. But he came in as a senior, and then DJ's now pushing this policy. There's two ways of doing this. If you want, I can go and find the policy, and we can reconvene later in the week if that's convenient. And I can also go back to Linda and ask her again for some more feedback, and if that would be good for people, I'm happy to do that. And maybe now.
Yeah, Robert, I would agree because it's different, like giving feedback, but not in a formal format. And as Sarah said, like has to be signed from all of us. And it's different if there is a specific process that we have to do. I think we need to have a little bit like a clear understanding what is being done, because I'm a little bit worried, when something is being submitted on like a formal letter with all our names or signatures. After that becomes has a kind of like a different gravity than just offering some unsolicited or even solicited feedback to the researcher. And I'm happy to go both ways. I just want to make sure we have a very good and clear understanding which way we're supposed to go.
It's a bit like the third year review if we're coming up for tenure, though, isn't it? So the fact that we have never had to do that either shows the birth of our department and its gestation in a sense to where we are now. So it's I had never been through that myself because we haven't had that opportunity. I think the midterm review sorry, I think the third year review, it is a formal process. If it's something like that, we'll take it something like that. It's fine. But, okay. So, I think you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, given how difficult it was to organize this meeting in the first place, maybe we can discuss, Ian's and his performance a little now, and then we can, before we write up anything, we can see if we have any, if our views are different, is one thing. And the other thing that we can make clear before writing and signing, we can make clear, what is
He's not in the office next to you by any chance, is he, Angelo?
He is in the office, but he's not next to me.
I have the volume very, very low and I'm speaking very low there as well because you know those walls it like but the volume is extremely low. That's why you see me like sitting and stuff.
No, that's, it's a concern. Kevin and I and Oliver, we've talked about this in the past. It would be very challenging if people could hear all the confidential.
Yeah, actually, I mean, Angelica, you're in the office side by side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Actually, he's there.
As I said, the volume is like so.
You wanna
I'm
go to
happy to.
Do you want to go to Ola's office?
Sure. Ola, shall I
Yeah.
join you?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because he cannot hear us.
Kevin's in the trees over there by the lake, so.
I want to come in, but like 2 days ago I was having flu symptoms, and then I felt like maybe I just not coming.
I just finished my course at LSE this morning, just about half an hour ago, so I didn't come in. Ethics.
Just so you know, Robert, I have to leave at 2:45. So,
Well, I don't think we'll be that long.
okay, then I'll just.
Yeah, so I think Ola's point's fantastic that we kind of just touch on these issues and then we can kind of, it'll be a shorter meeting next time, or I can meet with people individually, or we can circulate the document. I really have to do this for the end of term though, and DJ's been pushing for that. And, so I don't know, it's kind of a strange thing to discuss in a group, but
It's
go ahead. I'm just looking here. It seems like years since he came up for tenure for promotion. It was only 23, so it was only 2 years ago since he got tenure and promotion. And if we look at the publication track in 23, we've got and JMIS, we have a ISR, Academy of Management Reviews 24, and then the Management Science also in 24. So it's just, it's a strong track of consistent publication to me, and the publications are in strong journals. Obviously, Management Science an amazing output. AMR also, that's forthcoming. It says forthcoming on the CV, but I'm not sure when this was last done. And then obviously last year there was the ISR and the JMIS. So, this is a consistent pattern. So, I mean, I think, recommendations can probably be along the lines of, consistency of publication in strong leading journals is a strong indicator of, progress to full. I mean, that's the kind of vocabulary I think we could use. I will, if that's what people think, and then I can clarify that with Linda and see how she normally approaches things, because these are in.
Yeah, that's super good. But something I really appreciate with his profile is the fact that he's very strong in cross disciplines. It's got the business publications that you refer to now, but it's also got in health policy as well as in computer and engineering. Actually, like ACM Transactional MIS is actually a very good journal, and he's got 3 of them, and so on and so forth. So I think that's something that is a positive, sure, something he should continue doing. It's in the spirit of learner strategy,
Ola, do you think that may be something we should recommend? I think I was comparing the two CVs, right? So he has 2 publications post tenure. That's the AMR and the Men of Science. If we give him the recommendation to he sort of stopped the publications in the other area. Right? I think the recommendation is clear.
No.
To continue focusing on the business journals, or he should, because his pre-tenure effort is more spread it out, I would say. But his post-tenure effort is more focused to business publication,
Yeah.
which I felt is also what the committee, at least the school committee, would value, is the ST.
I agree, but on the other hand, I don't think it's very important in this kind of feedback that we emphasize the strong part in the candidates. You know,
Yes, but he hasn't published post-tenure in the two areas you mentioned. In
No,
pre-tenure, he has published quite a bit.
he's still very active in the health community in terms of both when it comes to conferences as well as when it comes to these. You see that some of his research is also taken up in policy discussions in the healthcare area. The fact that he's still at the Brookings Institute as a fellow is pretty impressive, and that's because he's an authority in that domain. So I kind of agree, but I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to shoot down one of the things that is, the very strong part of it.
We don't know his pipeline though.
That's what I was saying. It's not in the pipeline. The two conferences you mentioned, those are IS conferences. I understand he's working on health. That's why we recruited him. Because in IS there's a huge health systems research.
No, but
If we tell him, okay, to do the other areas, then I'm not sure if we're doing him a disservice too, right?
There's the computing and engineering journals too.
Yeah, pre-tenure he's been doing quite a bit of that.
My point is not that it's not necessarily a recommendation, it's an appreciation of the fact that it's multidisciplinary, which is what the school wants. Then in terms of recommendations, I tend to agree because I think it's better for him as well. And I think that's his focus, isn't it? In terms of it's his main focus, but I don't think he will ever leave the other, well, at least the health part aside. Another thing I think that is obvious is that I know that the healthcare management policy and management department, they have their own target list. We should ask for that list and we should review his publication in the Advanced Journal.
Yeah, there was discussion going on regarding it too.
Is there an overlap though between what we would
So
consider?
it's the health policy journals. I'm not sure if Idioms getting those journals, but the other thing is their journals discussions of whether what journals should be counted for that.
I remember I was part of those discussions a few years back too. They have a very inclusive list, from a business school perspective.
Does it include health informatics or is it just health economics, health policy?
Health policy and economics.
I know because we have reviewed this before. I know that several of these journals are on their list. It's just that whether we recognize the list or not. Well, what I think we recognize is the fact that there's healthcare publishing in Greenfield.
Yeah, no, for me, doing interdisciplinary research, I always believe, when another department or even school has those journals recognized, that's something that we should recognize very, very seriously, consider recognizing that, because it means that they already went through all the proper channels and identifying those and use those for tenure. So, yeah, absolutely, we should compare the list and see where he's going. Now, as far as recommendations for the future, I would be a little bit hesitant giving any recommendations to stick with business or be interdisciplinary. It's just things have been changing so much. Right now we know Paul is here, he likes interdisciplinary and he's supporting this interdisciplinary, but we don't want to bring him in a situation, let's say down the road, I'm just going to throw a number, 10 years from now, let's say he goes up for full and Paul is not here anymore and the new dean tells him, no, you should only focus on, or you should have only focus, and I only consider business journals, and he says, but they told me I can be interdisciplinary. So it's just as a recommendation, I would stay away from steering in one direction or another. For me, of course, you know, I do interdisciplinary work. I love it and I support it and I want more people to do so. I wouldn't recommend anyone to steer one direction or another. I think we should leave it to the individual where they feel is a trajectory they want to go.
I like the word appreciation from Olga. I thought that was
Yes, I like what he said. Like we appreciate that he's multidisciplinary and he's publishing across disciplines, of course.
Yeah, right. And I guess that, Kevin, you also suggested that given the fact that he's got the momentum in the business journals anyway, it might not be a problem. So.
but he's got a conference
Yeah, I'm
table
not saying
in
it's not a
Bristol.
problem. I thought this is what he has probably, that's my advice to him. I didn't say specifically, I'll just share my advice to him. First is you need to establish your independent research. I cannot see it from his CV, and I think he's very aware of that, and he's working on that. And the second is the delta. I think when someone's promoted to full, that needs to look at, unless we recruit from outside, right? Even recruiting from outside, they want to be promoted, you need to look at the pre-tenure and post-tenure delta. That's something. Those are the things I mentioned to him, and I think that still stands pretty true. I mean, the challenge is the only being basically tenure for 1 year, and it's hard to make such a big progress over this period of time. I'm not saying it's impossible. I know Alex, right, he had like 7 years, but typically it will take a little longer.
We've also got the academic service delta that, you know, Kevin, like because Nina, for instance, has, you know, an immense amount of service with the journals and conferences and workshops. So there is that dynamic too about establishing, you know, your presence in the community outside of the school and individual publication process.
I think we also should appreciate where he states his research impact. And especially when you think of healthcare, when you think about your articles, you say, what impact does it have? And in his, you can think about in the U.S. Federal Register, it seems that basically policymakers are looking to him as an expert in the field, and they're making their decisions on that. And that's immense, I think. And also in his Brookings Institute, and also just in his media. If you look, he says, in addition, my research has been mentioned at least 255 times in various media. So when you think about the School of Business on who can we go to for healthcare information systems, I think he's making a name, and I think he should be appreciated for that. So in those aspects as well, that as you said, that he was recruited for that health, I think it's fantastic. And when you think about the future, where is AI going to go to the first? Where's the lowest hanging fruit and the most meaningful is in healthcare. Think about all those applications. So I think he has a great, future.
Yeah, the research impact thing is great, but if we look at the rest, the whole CV overall and compare it, for instance, with Nina, who's just come up for full professor, the thing that's missing here is the contribution to the journals, the workshops, the conferences, the leadership within those academic community, chairing the conference on health informatics or whatever. That is absence. There's a big absence in the CV. I'm not saying this is just my perspective of what's not there as opposed to what is there. And it would be nice to see, for me, to see that.
I mean, I know that he's been working hard to, he's been reviewing a lot for ISR and was hoping to get the opportunity in AE, but it hasn't worked out.
It's not on the resume.
No, but I guess the review might not count that much. I'm just saying that his intention has been. We all know that can be challenging to get those. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. But if you're striving, eventually you will.
Mm-hmm. But he has editorial service, doesn't he? On the guest associate editors.
And that's something that I think we want to see is the difference between, when you get your tenure and when you're going to full. We want to see the service to the community as well. And as you said, like being an AE and SC in one of those top journals, it's a good indication that the community realizes you or understands that you are a leader in that field. So some recommendations like that.
Yeah.
And like a conference chair is all to me, if you're leading a space in a conference community workshop / conference and then move into that leadership group, I think that is establishes your national, international presence for the full professor.
No, I think that's true. I mean, these are both good points. Is there a service part of this? Award?
I guess he was granted the tenure last year, right? So I mean he didn't have enough time or opportunities, I assume, to establish a strong research service record. So that's most probably why it's on his CV.
And that's true too. I mean, I saw in MHQ wouldn't take assistant professors, regardless of good.
Which kind of is interesting, like just reflecting as a group, when people say I want to come up early and I'm ready for it, and I should get tenure and I should get promoted rapidly to full and things, they're having that body of work within a community. People, if you're looking at it from your own perspective, you're like, oh, I downplay that, but I've got this, and if you're on our side, you look at this and you go, you need all of these boxes ticked because, I've had conversations with other people who just come up with tenure and they're like, oh, I'm ready for full, it's like, well, here's some of the boxes that the P&T committee would look at, and I think it's important that we recognise those and convey that information to people, because as soon as you get tenure, people go, oh, I'm ready for full, right? So, that's, and as we have to create this, the tenure requirements document, full professor requirements document, I think as a group, as we evolve, I think it's important that we can put that into writing and help people understand where we're at as a sort of a legacy document.
Sure. I wanted to say something positive also, but since I kind of know the story around it, this paper in management science that just came out is really his creation. I mean, he did the data collection together with someone in Iran. It's a right hailing service. He had the idea already from the beginning of this with fallback and so on and so forth. However, I think that perhaps the mistake he's doing, and that's perhaps what you're reflecting upon, Kevin, too, is that I don't know why he needs to work with Ramesh on this paper.
That was my question to him too, right? Yeah, obviously you can say that it's all my work, and from an outsider perspective, maybe all you have one.
But I'm just saying, as an insider, I'm saying that most of that is his work. It was his idea, it was his empirical work, and so on and so forth, and it's his writing. So I don't get it why he needs to take him on board. So that was a mistake.
And in this case, typically, I think someone needs to establish this even prior to tenure, right? I think for tenure, personally, I'm mostly more forgiving on this aspect because a lot of people work with advisors and those papers published, very open papers. In Ian's case, I think it's he needs to be given this recommendation because I think aside from the paper with you, Ola, all the papers, maybe one or two, all the papers are either with Ran Ramesh or Ran Gopal. So those of them are his advisors or mentors. I understand both of them are very good researchers. From Ian's perspective, you want to establish, you don't need to, right? One question is why? Why would you do that? But we all know that putting a big name on a paper helps you publish and all that. That's just the biases we shouldn't have, but that happens all the time. For me, I think transformational journey myself is when I don't involve Paul, the paper becomes so hard to publish. So I know that, but I try my best to overcome that hurdle, and I do feel confident I was able to do that. But it's much harder when I don't put not biased or whatever, but when you have a senior editor on your paper, it does change things. It shouldn't, but I just have to say that.
And I think Kevin, it's a great recommendation, especially as early on as right now, like to give him advice, say like, show your independence, what you mentioned at the beginning. Show your independence because we know you can do it, right? We in you, we work with you, we know you can do it. So show your independence. Make sure everybody understands.
I think he's already doing that. I think I gave them advice a few months last December or sometime. I think he's already doing that very actively. He's aware of it too. But
maybe ultimately this is an advice document around these kinds of observations rather than a specific go publish 5 MAS papers or whatever. So I think we're actually resolving this in some ways ourselves. I will come to Linda though and ask her, and she's the most senior person who's still chairing it. So
yeah, and I mean the good thing is I think for him, and in some way I think we'll talk about for Robert is both of them are very, very active, right? It's not they are worried or if I'm not going to get it this year, I'm not going to get it. You will get it. Just show more evidence to make people feel convinced. Right? I think he is on a very good trajectory.
I see it more as trimming the sails of the ship rather than tacking and changing course, right? It's not like go over there and teach, this and do that. This is just like
he's very much on the right track.
Yeah, slight course adjustments, things that will help you get to the P&T, things that they will be looking for, ticking the boxes if you like in the long run. Aligning.
I think we talked about not just for internally, right? It's also the field. When they see you have, for example, you have solo author paper, that's a big thing, that's a huge thing, right? Not many people can achieve that. If you have a solo author paper, I think then a lot of the criticism automatically go away because that's your solo author work. Or you can show it in many different ways. You can co-author with PhD students, you can co-author with junior faculty. There are many different ways to show that. Right? I don't think we require solo author paper. I know a school like Tulane, you have to publish a solo author paper to show independence. That's an extreme, right? I don't think we're looking for that kind of independence. It's more like work with more junior people.
I think that is a recommendation. Doesn't mean I require my mother's a recommendation. Look, that's going to be a very strong signal. If
you are able to, but not many people are able to do that. So we don't want to put it into. I know, right?
all the time. For me, that was the easiest work. It's much easier to work, with yourself.
That's true.
They'll have many co-authors, and sometimes you need to chase them to get their parts, etc., etc.
That's also true. Yeah. I guess if you have all the tools available, you could do it yourself. Yeah, I tried it one time, and I think eventually I saw someone else, and it felt like I'm not able to do it myself. Yeah. It's still tough to do. I know some schools are crazy. You have to have a solo author paper, but I don't think that's the case here. There are many different ways to show your research.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of just a slightly different topic, the fact that he got that grant for the software is fantastic. And it shows that he's actually out there driving his research agenda over long term and finding resources. I think that shows great progress for all of us, for the department as a whole.
Okay.
So I made some notes. Sarah, please.
I just need to get going. I have an appointment to get to, but you'll let us know. I think it's better on the generic. My ideas were in the generic advice, the vice part. If we can do that.
I'll draft up something.
Yeah, and let us know.
I'll send it out to you guys, and we can always meet around the coffee machine or something.
Or just even pass it through, and then you'll find out what you need to actually put in writing, Robert. I think that was the only concern.
Kevin and I have tried to find it. I've asked DJ on multiple occasions. He always offloads us to Blanca or something like that.
Yeah.
It's actually on the school council, Sarah, as a member of the school council. Maybe you can help us find that too.
I couldn't find it myself, so that's why I wanted to know about it. I was looking for it before this meeting. I was looking for it too. Okay, thanks a
All right,
lot.
Ms. Reyes. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
There's a Giga claiming that there exists such a bylaw.
I'll call John Matthias and ask him.
Yeah, that's probably best.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. All right, so you think if I draft up, it's going to be short. I don't think